Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Gold, and today we are talking all about OP-04 film Doflamingo. We did a poll recently on the channel, and we saw just how much you guys were anticipating this deck, so we wanted to go ahead and try it out. There was a bit of a learning curve with it. I definitely wasn't doing super well with it at the beginning, but then I kind of realized maybe this playstyle wasn't for me. I basically took the first version of the deck from One Piece Top Decks, and then after playing it, I was like, okay, I know what works for my playstyle, so let's go ahead and modify it a bit. This is a slower deck, it has a lot of control potential, and while there are some nice things about some of the cards in here, and I do understand why they put things like Thunder Bagua in here, it just wasn't working for me. Now, first off, let's talk about the leader effect. It is a big part of it. At the end of your turn, you set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active. This means things like Punk Gibson and, of course, the new juiced up Paradise Waterfall, otherwise known as Spider's Web, and then, of course, Thunder Bagua are all being played because basically every turn you will have Dawn left over enough to use these 2-cost events. It's good. It's really, really good. But mind you, I just wasn't feeling the Thunder Bagua, but the general idea is that everybody was playing this card because, well, you have a dual cost leader, which means you're at 4 life instead of 5, meaning that you're already going to get to 2 life kind of more naturally or easier than other decks will. And then by using this card, of course, you gain extra Dawn. What's the benefit of that? Well, basically, you're trying to play the 10-cost Doflamingo a turn earlier. That's kind of the entire goal. I mean, this card is so insane. It's definitely my favorite that's coming in the next set. You basically play it for 10 Dawn, and then you freeze 3 cards, including the leader, so you could make it so the enemy leader can't attack, which is big because some leaders have effects on attack. For example, like Katakuri, right? Well, Katakuri won't be able to get his effect if you have this card. And then from there, you basically buy yourself a whole turn. And then because of your leader effect, you get 2 Dawn. So not only do you get to play this card, you'll have 2 left over for one of the events. It's just so good. It's unbelievable. But here's where the problem is. Both of these cards are not searchable by your search cards. So you have the Buena and you have the Nami, and both of those are going to search all of your film cards, but this is a 4 Emperor Animal Kingdom, and this is a 7 Warlords Don Quixote pirate card, so you're just not going to get it. So let's go ahead and look at how I like to play the deck. I did try out a couple of other versions, by the way. If you wanted to see what I tested out, we can quickly go over. So here you can see I tested getting rid of some stuff. We even tried out some of the other newer cards. This card's really good. And then you have, what else did I try out here? Oh yeah, I tried out Treble. Treble's really good, but he doesn't have a counter, which sucks. And then I also just tried to make it more Don Quixote. So I tried to have the Searcher so I could guarantee that I had the Doflamingo here. And what's nice about it is a counter card. So basically you play it for free because you use it with your leader ability. I really do like this version of it. But really what I settled on was this version of the deck. You can see here I have Union Armado, which is an insane card. I like to use this on so many things. You can use it on your Nami, so you can guarantee you can search another card, including this. You can use it on your film Luffy, so then you block anything, literally anything, and then he just won't die because this makes him unable to be KO'd. So really your only worries with this card is against the blue matchup because they don't KO, they send it to the bottom of the deck. 2 other cards I guess we should talk about is Sugar and Weaklings Can't Choose the Way They Die. I haven't talked about these. These are also very good cards. Sugar, you play her and you get to rest something, which is how I won some games because I basically played it and rested a blocker or something, and then I was able to go for game. But really what's cool about this, it is a anti-aggro card. You can play it on your first turn, like 2 Dawn, right? If you're going second. And then when they play a card, you can rest it. And then you can just play the control game from there. Sugar is one of those cards you absolutely want to try a mulligan for if you're playing against aggro decks like Zoro. It is so clutch. Absolutely love this card. It is so good. And this card's just really neat in the mid game, maybe even the late game. You have that ability to rest something, including the enemy leader, which can be really good depending on what's happening. If you're just using it as a counter, you can counter the enemy's attack with their leader so they don't get their effect. Really good against things like Katakuri. And then you have the ability to also just KO a rested 6 or lower. It's super good. It's basically just a really strong stall card in the mid or late game, depending on what the situation is and what the matchup is. It's not super good in all matchups, but it's really good in the control game. Super, super good in that situation. There was a couple of times where it was a bit unfortunate for me. I actually struggled the most against black decks. I think Navy having unkillable blockers was actually very tough for me to deal with. I wasn't really able to get the full usage out of a lot of my cards because of that. And then they also just pop things like Nami before they even get to do anything. Same thing with Uta. So it's pretty rough, right? I think Navy might actually be, and it's weird, you don't really see it too often, but I think Navy is the hardest counter to this deck, which is something that I wasn't really expecting, but I do think I could play the games a little bit differently. Here are the matchups actually, so we can quickly go over the 10 games that I played here. I do think that at the beginning, I was still kind of figuring out the deck. I didn't know exactly how to play it, but after playing it more and more, I definitely figured out what you want to do against certain matchups. So out of 10 games, I won every game except for 2. I lost against Fujitora, and I lost against Smoker, both of which are Navy decks, or at least one is dual color Navy. So first game, it was a win against a Doflamingo player. There wasn't too many new cards in that deck. I think maybe Red Rock was one of the only big ones. Essentially, I used 10 cost Doflamingo on his 9 cost Mihawk, and as you can see, that is brutal for them to deal with. If you have the 10 cost Doflamingo in this match, you just win. I mean, that card is so good against his Mihawk. Even though his Mihawk, I think, hit my film Luffy, it didn't matter at all. I went and took that hit, and then I was just able to freeze him, and it gave me an entire turn of just getting value. It's so insane. Next game was against Rebecca, which is a really fun match. Oh wait, this actually doesn't count. This isn't counted. I did 11 games. This was just a disconnect. I don't know why that's in there, but it is. Game 2, the actual game 2, is a win against Structure Big Mom. They used 2 8-cost Katakuris on my film Zoro. Then I used 2 10-cost Doflamingos and applied too much pressure while he couldn't attack back. So as you guys can see, using a 10-cost Doflamingo on his big cards like 8-cost Katakuri is really insane. I think this card is just the GOAT in any sort of control versus control game. If you're playing against slower decks, the 10-cost Doflamingo gives you so much value because a lot of these decks rely on these high attack cards with good effects in order to kind of carry them after they played them. And your 10-cost Doflamingo makes sure that they don't get that extra little value. They'll have the on play effect, and then that's it. And you have tons of ways to like rest their blockers. As you can see here, I was able to go for game because the Sugar rested the 3-cost blocker here. Sugar is such an amazing card. Next up, we have our first loss. I do think Fujitora is a really crazy match to look out for. One of the big problems with Navy, and I think this is one of the reasons why I struggled so much, was because you can freeze their cards with the 10-cost Doflamingo, but they still get their effects. So for example, you have the -5 against me from the 10 cost. Even if he were to attack with the 10 cost and I freeze it, he would still be able to just pop something next turn with like an Akainu, because he has that passive negative cost effect still. Being frozen, he still gets a little bit of value out of it. And I think that's one of the reasons why this deck has a bit of struggles against Navy. While you may be able to play around it sometimes, it is very difficult because playing the 10-cost Doflamingo means that you're not able to trade into his big attack things, especially if he has any blockers on board. You really have to rely on things like Punk Gibson in order to rest their blockers, or Sugar in order to rest their blockers. Otherwise, you're going to have a very tough time. Next up, I have a win against Fujitora. In this one, I had my early game stick. As you can see, I have my 3-cost Nami. That's a big thing, right? I think he also played a very different version of Fujitora compared to the other one. He had a lot more green cards than Navy, and I think the Navy cards really excel at killing all of my early game stuff like Nami. If you can kill the Nami and Utas as Navy, then you're probably going to win against this deck, but he did not do that. Next up, I have a win against Zoro. Basically, getting the 10-cost Doflamingo out and freezing all of his stuff on board, it's super OP. Like, Zoro cannot deal with that. It's insane because you can kind of just let him stay alive a little bit. You just keep using your events in order to block the attacks. You have the 2k counters, and then you just freeze his cards and it basically gives you a chance to attack his life. You don't really need to clear the board right away. If you really hate playing against red like I do, and you really hate the red meta, I think Film Doflamingo is an excellent way to kind of counter it. Next up, we have a mirror match. This was pretty fun. I think I had a decent lead against him, and he just kind of quit a little bit too early. As you guys can see, the board is definitely in my favor, and next turn I had the 10-cost Doflamingo. Next up, we have a win against Arlong. When he played his 7-cost Big Moms, I trashed my own life twice. I had no problem doing that. You never want to give Arlong more life. In my notes here, I basically just say, if you use the 7-cost Big Mom with Arlong and you give him life, chances are he's probably going to get another trigger card in there, and that is not what you want. So always trash your own life and just play a bit safer. As you can see, I put extra blockers out here. Basically, having events in this matchup is just so good because they always rely on playing those trigger cards, and your Punk Gibson pretty much hits all of them because I think they're all like 4 cost or less. And next up, this was a crazy loss. Smoker really good. And the Fujitora effect, I was able to freeze. Oh, no, I wasn't, actually. I did not get my 10-cost Doflamingo this game. Okay, so that sucks. If you don't get your 10-cost Doflamingo, you're going to be in a pretty rough spot all around. But even if you do and you freeze the Fujitora, he can still put the 1 Dawn on Fujitora, even if it's frozen, and get like the minus cost effect, which is really good. And then, of course, you have the Smoker effect. You put another minus cost on there. It basically makes it so he can kill your 7-cost Luffy for free. In general, like I said, I think Navy is your worst matchup. And game 10, I had a easy win against Katakuri. I dropped a 7-cost Film Luffy into a 4-cost Zoro, and then I was able to get a 10-cost Doflamingo. This deck just has so much board presence with the 4-cost Zoros, and they get explosive because you're playing them off also the 7-cost Luffy, and then after that you have the 10-cost Doflamingo to freeze all of their attackers after they're trying to clear your board. And then we have the final game, which was a purple yellow Croc. This deck was so fun. I am playing this deck soon because that looked really crazy for me. On the receiving end, I was like, what is happening? I really can't wait to test it out. My notes here was I wasn't sure how the matchup really played. I tried to play it extremely slow, went for value plays. Even though I didn't get my 10-cost Doflamingo this game, I was able to outvalue all of his trades and get good Punk Gibson and Sugar Rests. And I think it's time that we take this 8-2 record and we turn it into 9-2. All right, so we're in a game and we have a Doflamingo blue variety. This is a pretty good hand, honestly. We have that. I'm going second, that, and then we do that on turn 2. That's pretty good. I think we keep that. We get 2 searches. And then we have Punk Gibson that we can play on something as well. Use it on the Doflamingo attack if we have to. We're going to play the value game a little bit early on. Try to get some Nami searches, some Bueno searches. Probably look for, 7-cost Luffy. We need a good play on that turn. Because we have to try to stall out the game to get the 10-cost. That's kind of the goal. This is a bit of a long video now that I'm looking too. Uh-oh, I can play both. Ooh. Another Uta, 2k counter. I think we can go for a 2k counter. I mean, we could go for that if we have no other play other than Nami. I think that's okay. Put 10-cost Doflamingo at the top, blocker 2k, then that. And we might as well just do another Bueno. The only thing I can really get is the Chopper. Sugar would be amazing in this match, though. I'm going to put that. Actually, yeah, I'm going to put it like that. And my turn. Kind of a long turn. I apologize. So here he's going to use his effect. I could use Punk Gibson here. I don't think it's worth it. I think we're going to take that first hit. Try to play it a bit slow. I'm not going to be able to kill that 6k. I think I'm just going to play the Nami for 4. Just put pressure on his leader instead. And then I'm going to use the Punk Gibson on the Gecko Moria. Surely you have a counter for this. It's just a silly little 5k. Just a funny little 5. Yeah, get rid of the Gecko Moria. And then we're just going to play that. Use the card action. Get a film card. Probably the Luffy here. I kind of like having the Sugar at top. But I think we might do the Queen because the Queen can draw into the Sugar. It's pretty good. And now we have a Punk Gibson, which can save us if he tries to do the Doflamingo effect. Oh, that really sucks. Well, we can Punk Gibson the Gecko Moria at least. No, we can't. I wanted to. We can just do a 2k counter here. We have a couple of them, so it's all right. Do we do another 2k? I think we have to do another 2k. Not ideal. But he didn't develop the board any further. Here, I think we want to do Guild, which means we have one Don to play around with, right? So we can do a 6k swing on Gecko, which he probably will counter out of. Otherwise, we can do Uta. I don't think Uta's too great here. I think we're just going to do a 6k swing on the Gecko and do Guild. There is a world where I play Sugar too, though. Now that I think about it. I think we're just going to play Guild. Oh, this is great. Use the Doflamingo effect so I can Punk Gibson. He didn't do it. Well, I have another 2k counter. So that's fine. We still have card advantage. Okay, there's the 5k. Do I want to use the Punk Gibson here? I kind of don't want to. I think we can take the hit. It might seem risky, but I think we are playing the long game, and I think we'll be okay. Okay, that's the Jinbei. That's great. So we definitely have targets now. We want to do the Film Luffy. That gives me 7, so I'll have 1 Don to play with. I kind of want to use the Guild effect, but I don't think I do right now. I think that's pretty good. And then we have 1 Don left over. I think we try to do a... Let's do a 6k swing into the 6k. I think we can get out another card. I don't think he has enough counters to survive 2 attacks here. He has the 1 Perona there. And I think we do the 6 on the 6. I'm not going to use the card action because I need the 10 cost Doflamingo. Dang, he survived. All right, so now we have the blocker play with the Punk Gibson, which is pretty solid. And the next turn, anything that doesn't die, that's okay. Anything that doesn't die is going to get hit by Doflamingo. Only big problem with Uta is I can't use her effect, which kind of sucks. All right, so here we are going to use Punk Gibson, and then we will rest the Jinbei. And then he only has 2 more attacks. For this 5k swing, I think we can do a 1k block. I'm thinking we get rid of the Zoro. And then we can get rid of the Sugar or Uta. Probably the Sugar, I guess. If he uses his leader to attack here... Ooh, 2 10-cost ones. Okay, so we want to definitely try and clear this. We want to do 2 5s. Or, I'm sorry, we want to do a 5 into a 5 here. That's perfect. So we have 3 attacks. This is great, because now we can just do this. We can now just freeze 3 things. And then we can do a 6k attack on... Should we just try to clear the board? Maybe we should try to clear the board, actually. Yeah, we'll do that. And then we can use the card action to return 2 Don to draw 2. So now we have a Punk Gibson to play as well. So now we can just keep Uta alive to block that hit, and he'll probably stack the Perona or hit me with another Mihawk. But either way, we can do another draw 2 next turn, most likely. Because we could do a Punk Gibson, and I actually Punk Gibson the Perona, I think, this turn. Depending on what he does, because it's most likely that he'll attack with Perona, because he's almost out of cards. But I'm probably blocking the Mihawk no matter what. Yeah, here it is. I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen. Do I just get rid of a counter here? I think I do. I don't really want to get rid of the Uta, but I'm not going to be playing her, I don't think, because I'll use 10 Dawn for that. So we'll just use her as a counter. And And we could do 2 counters, or we could just do a block. I think we do the Punk Gibson. Wait, how much Dawn do you have? 7. I could even just take that hit, because I should be completely fine, because then I can just freeze again. I think we actually just take that hit. That's no problem. Oh, Hancock, okay. And then you might have an overheat too. All right, so we probably want to freeze these 3, and we'll just attack the Corona. Do we really even care? Well, yeah, we got to freeze 3 things. So what do we want to attack it with? Probably want to do a 5k attack. But really, we kind of want to kill the Mihawk more than anything. I think we're going to try to kill the Mihawk, so let's go ahead and try to do a 10k into it. Just bait out the block and the overheat and all that. Get that out of the way. Because we are trying to exhaust the resources. Perfect. Can get rid of Perona. I doubt they'll do anything about that. And now we do the Doflamingo, and we can freeze all 3. And then from there, we can do a 6k swing, and we can draw 2. Now we have another 10 cost Doflamingo. Oh my god. That is insane. And then that's it. Now we have a Punk Gibson and 2 2k counters. It's looking really good. I might be able to go for game pretty soon. But I kind of want to drop the third. I kind of want to drop the third 10 cost. It's just so funny. It's so funny. This deck is so fun. Like, getting this guy out with the 10 cost. I mean, this is just the dream. To be able to draw 2 cards and freeze the board like this. This is what you're looking at. This is the dream. I do need to try to win the game, though, pretty soon. So he has 4 life. It's a blocker. Oh, no! Return up to 1 character that costs 8 or less. Oh, it's probably going to be my... Oh, that's tough. We're going to go for my Uta, probably. Probably get rid of Guild, too. I don't know. That's a tough one. See what I mean? I can't fuck around too much. I got to try to go for game here. I don't know what he chooses. Guild. Yeah, that's probably the best play, because now I can't draw 2, so my engine's kind of slowed down a bit. I really got to try to go for game here, I think. Ooh, Union Armada. That's really good, though. Okay, 10 Dawn. I can freeze those 3 again. Is there any world where I don't do that? Is there a world where I do other things? Keep Union Armada and Punk Gibson alive. Maybe draw another card. I could try to draw what with him? Like another Uta? Because I'm going to probably take this hit. No, I need to freeze these 3 and start going for life, I think. Maybe I could try to get rid of something on board to make it a little less scary. Like maybe, but I kind of want to set up lethal, right? So I'll have 1, 2 guaranteed life. Oh, he still has the blocker too. And I don't want to give him too many cards. I think it's probably better to still try to kill the Mihawk. Yeah, we'll try to get out a card here. Because we want to get rid of this. Because we want to be able to freeze this thing, probably. Because we have 2 attacks here, and maybe we can kill the Mihawk. And that would change the game plan. So, like, if the Mihawk... So, if the Mihawk dies to the 2 10 cost swings, that would be really good. But I also want to start doing life to him as well. Yeah, that's fine. You can get rid of that. Oh, it's so tough. I'm going to try to clear the Mihawk. I don't think he has a blocker, or I don't think he has counters. That's why he did that. Oh, that's really good. Okay, so now I have a blocker for that. So we can save the 10 cost Doflamingo now for him, which is kind of what I wanted. So let's go ahead and put other things on the board. If we get an Uta, that's really good. Or I could do a 7 cost and drop a Zoro? Is that what I want to do? Or do I just want to do double blockers? So then we have the 7 cost, and then we want to put out the Zoro, remove that. And then we have 2 Dawn remaining, which means we have 4 Dawn remaining, so we can use both events. I like it. I like it a lot. He might have like another Mihawk here, which would kind of suck though. I wouldn't like that. Oh, 3,000 worlds. Okay, he got rid of my Uta, so I'm glad that I put another blocker out there. And I can use Union Armada and block with Luffy, which is a really, really good way to just block anything, right? What do I do? Punk Gibson this? Yeah, I think I just Punk Gibson it. And then we block and use Union Armada, and he doesn't die, even though the attack is higher. Isn't that cool? Isn't that neat? So now we want to use 10 cost Doflamingo. So now we just get our hits in, and we can freeze that. This is kind of where we kind of go for game here. I could try to go for game. He's got 2 open Dawn. There's no reason to go for game when I can just freeze his only way to do damage to me. I can totally just wait another turn now. This also gives me information on what he has in his hand, like a 2k counter. Okay, so we had a Love Beam. Like, I probably could go for game right now, but there's no time limit rules. We're not in a tournament. Why bother when I could just do this and end my turn and he can't attack me? Like, this deck is it's so funny. Oh my god, I almost feel bad. Okay, so real talk here, guys. This is overpowered against slower decks. If you get this 10 cost Doflamingo and you're just freezing, and then you're drawing 2, I mean, that is broken. It's so good. Here's the problem. Well, first off, I just want to say, I think it's pretty obvious, right? But I think Union Armada is so good. I think it's way better than Thunder Bagua, but that's just me. If you are trying to build this deck, get the film cards now. Buy the Shank structure deck now, because these things will raise in price. Right now, I think they are very cheap. Buy the film cards now. If you wait, these will be expensive. Get the Utas now. If you get the structure deck, it comes with this, it comes with this. You'll need 4 of them. It only comes with 2. And you will need the queens. I think they're also very good. Just a little bit of extra draw power to help you get to these. But yeah, all around, this deck is so fun. I love it. I don't think I would change anything. I mean, in a perfect world, I would like to have like a 4th Punk Gibson. In a perfect world, I'd like to run 4 queens, but I don't know what I would take out for that. I think the deck is kind of great as is. I do think one thing is interchangeable. I think instead of having 4 spider webs, you can go for 4 Punk Gibson and 3. Like, this could be 4 and that could be 3. You can move that around, I suppose. And I would not change the ratio on this card. Some people would probably only run 3. You gotta run 4. This card is so broken. I think you guys can understand a little bit more why I thought this was good, because this just increases the chances of getting your 10 cost in your hand. Because as you guys saw in my matchups, I did lose a game where I just didn't see my 10 cost and it really just sucked. So yeah, I think that it's pretty good. Depends all on your play style, but personally, I like this version. It works so good, and I think it's going to be very competitive. So yeah, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a sub, Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below, what you want to see next, and also, please watch the One Piece live action. Watch all of it. I'm just so hyped for it. Please watch it. It's going to be so much fun. But yeah, anyways, guys, have a good one. Peace out.